Well, hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here today and with my favorite subject, actually, happiness. And my friend, Margie Bissinger, who's a physical therapist who specializes in healthy bones and happiness. And I'm so happy to have you here. I've posted your bio in the comments here so that people can get it. But thank you for being here today.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I love your energy, and I'm just so happy to be with you and your community. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. So one of the things that I just love about you is that you, like, I've talked to you so many times in recent months, and you're always so bright and energetic and on it. So, and I know you started out as a physical therapist, and that you've over time become a health coach. But what got you into teaching about happiness?
No, it's such a crazy story how we fall into things. So my story goes back to my early 20s,
Mm.
and I got married, which should have been the happiest time in my life. And it wasn't, because I found out day two of my honeymoon that the person I had married was seeing someone else almost our entire relationship. And that wouldn't happen today with the internet and with cell phones. But in those days, we were in different parts of the country and it happened. So
Mhm.
to let's move on. Now, that wasn't a great situation. Obviously, I wasn't happy. I was sick to my stomach, but things didn't work out. And then I moved to Chicago. And
Mhm.
and at that I'm from the East Coast, but I just didn't want to move home because I didn't want people feeling sorry for me. Anyway, I'm working as a physical therapist at an outpatient clinic with chronic pain, neck pain, back pain, TMJ. And my patients were really unhappy, like miserable. And they were
Mhm.
saying to me, Margie, you're so happy. What's your secret? And I thought, had they only known what I just gone through, they wouldn't say that. But the truth was, it hit me at that moment that happiness is an inside job, not based on your external circumstances, because I actually was happy, even though I had just gone through a horrible situation. And at that point, I said, well, what was it? What was it that got me through? And I said, you know what? I'm going to start. Now I call them happiness habits, but at the time I didn't know. So I said, I'm going to start teaching this to my patients. And miracles started happening. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. Things were getting better. Chronic back pain was getting better so much faster than with traditional physical therapy. And that was over 35 years ago. So since that time, I've made that really the cornerstone of everything I do, that I just incorporate happiness. And, there's so many health benefits, but when people get that, when they get this piece of the puzzle, everything else goes smoother. And it's just been so wonderful for me, as well as for all the people I've been able to really improve their lives by adding this piece to the equation.
And what do you mean when you say, what are you talking about when you say happiness? Like,
That is such a
mm,
good question, because a
yeah,
lot of people think
yeah.
happiness is walking out with this fake grin 24/7 and you're living in a Pollyanna state of denial. Well, that's not it at all. Happiness is a deep sense of peace. What I mean is a deep sense of peace and well being that's not dependent on your circumstances, because we are going to be sad. We are going to be upset. We're going to have grief. We have normal emotions, but it's the ability to bounce back and just have this base level of peace and well being. Recently, though, I added one more piece to it.
Mm.
So something was missing from that definition. And the other part of the definition I added was also to live your life in color, because so many of us just get by. How you doing? I'm getting by. Life's okay. And we're not meant to be like that. That's not, we're meant to thrive. So if that's the case, we need to course correct or something. So that's why I added that piece, to live your life in color as well.
And what does that mean to live your life in color? I remember seeing this movie, it was a number of years ago, where the main character lived in some sort of alternate reality, and nobody had any emotions. And the movie was black and white. And then as people developed emotions, they became in color. So when you say live your life in color, I kind of like, what does that mean?
Well, it's funny because my image is the Wizard of Oz, before,
Ah,
the black and white and then color. But what I mean is to have vitality and fun and laughter and joy,
mhm.
versus black and white to me is you're just getting by, you're just sort of going through the motions of life. Where color is you're enjoying things, and you're just able to really to make the most of your life and to really just, see and experience and enjoy. So it's a big difference, I think.
Do you have, well, I have so many questions right now, but do you have suggestions for somebody who's like basically running on a treadmill of life, especially in the last couple of years, who doesn't feel like their life is in color, and like that they're in this everyday rut of doing the same thing every single day? So how do you get color when something like that is happening?
I think the first place to start is maybe to see where you're at. So there's a couple ways. One thing I like to do is also just to bring it back to the body, because a lot of times you're right, we're on this treadmill and we're just going and we don't even realize it. So just sort of see, like, go through. I like these two energies of contraction and expansion. Should I show everyone they can experience?
Sure, yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great. Yeah.
So the energy, because sometimes your body can tell you, your body tells you a lot. And I know you practice this so much and teach so much of this, but just simply to sometimes think of, am I being contracted or expanded? So let's go into contraction for a minute. So we're going to tighten our hands, squeeze our shoulders, frown, like really go up in a ball. And in this position, you're going to say, I feel happy.
Really?
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
I feel happy.
And did you?
Well, I couldn't help but laugh. So,
but in general, this does not feel happy. It's hard. But when now get expanded, like bring your arms up and go, I feel, and your chest is wide, I feel miserable. So
impossible.
They're very different energies, and you can start sort of tuning in. Like, am I feeling, does this make me feel contracted, or does this make me feel expanded? So it's just one way of like tuning into your own internal GPS, and you want to sort of choose activities that make you feel expanded. But back to your question, what I would say is start with what lights you up. So you can ask yourself, what lights me up? Or what do I love doing? You want to sort of find out what you're passionate about. So what lights me up? For me, I love dancing. I love riding my bike. I love going to Broadway shows. I love being with friends and, good girlfriends and really talking. There's just so many things. But a lot of people forget about what they love, or they might love music and they just don't do it. So see, what are your passions? And you may not be able to get it in your job. But see what really is lighting you up, what's exciting you, and write them down, write down whatever it is that comes to your mind. What is it? And then go through them, and I would like narrow it down to 5 maybe, and just somehow see how you can start putting them into your life and start rearranging your life to incorporate things that really bring it out. And there's so many different ways. So that's one way to sort of get out of yourself and out of your head. The second thing I think is so helpful is just get involved with something bigger than you are, whatever it is, and you can sort of feel, if you love animals, work at a pet shelter or anything. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, obviously something you like, but sometimes when you get involved, we're so, as you said, you're just doing the day to day. And that's what I've seen, where people get out of that and they end up really being able to, when they get involved in a bigger thing, all of a sudden joy returns and they have purpose. And I think purpose is just so important. So I would say those would be, start tuning in, writing down your day. You can even close your eyes, like go through your day. How does that make me feel? And just sort of seeing the things or the people that are really dragging you down. You can make some course corrections.
That is awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about what is a happiness set point?
Yes, this is so exciting that I think it should be in every medical book, and people don't realize. So everybody has their base level of happiness, sort of like a thermostat, where, it hovers at a certain level. And what they found, people can win the lottery. People can have something serious happen. For the most part, after a year, you're happy for a little while, but then within 6 months or so, you go back to your base level. But the good news, well, first of all, the good news is you can raise this everybody, no matter if you're a couch potato, I mean, not couch potato, matter if you're if you're a glass half empty person or whatever,
Yeah.
you can raise this base level of happiness. And the interesting thing, it was what makes it up. And they've studied this in science. I mean, they've researched this. And so it's interesting because most people think it's your circumstances. You know, if only I married that person, if only I had more money, if only a different job, I'd be happier. I'd be happy then. What they found is circumstances is only 10%. That's it. 40% are your habits and 50% are genetics. But as we know with epigenetics now, we can turn on and off our genes. So we really have a lot of influence on our happiness. And the key thing is just learning habits, just learning the habits of happy people. They really found that happiness habits can, and I've seen this for many years, just learning these habits can totally raise your happiness set point.
Any suggestions on a one habit that you could suggest that might help?
Yeah, well,
putting your arms up in the air.
I mean, they run in my class, I teach 21 habits and they go into categories. So I usually tell people, you start with with what's the most important thing for you. But I would say 2 to start with. The first thing, and it's the first thing is your foundation. And are you a victor in life or a victim? And so often people are poor me and if you're a victim, well, how do you know if you're a victim? 3 things: blaming, shaming, which is self-blame, and complaining. All of those are victim, are just indications that you're living in victimhood. And that it's hard to be happy when you're feeling poor me. So it's just a shift, instead of focusing on the problem in what's wrong, to shift it. Okay, what are the solutions? So I would say that's number 1, the foundation. And the second thing is mindset. Mindset. And this is, I'm going to give you 3 easy things that everybody can do. So often 80% of the average person's thoughts are negative. 80%. And think about it, we're swarming with negativity. It's just so sad. But the good news is we can adjust this. So 3 easy things. Number 1, because you don't want to just throw the negative thoughts in the closet. And there are much more detailed things we can do. But for simple tweaks that everybody can do who's listening, when you get the negative, well, first, before even that, is start looking for the good. Because so often we focus on what's wrong. So when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be a detective for the good. And start during your day, like, what's good? And when something good, just sort of, if you can't, if everything you really can't, then pretend you're giving like Academy Awards out for the nicest person that day, the cute dog, whatever it is, to start finding some good in your life. Number 2, then when something good happens, this is key, and they've really researched this, savor it. You can change your neural pathways by 20 seconds. So savor it. So if I said, Dr. Shiroko, you have such amazing work, instead of saying, nothing, thank you so much, I work really hard, savor it, absorb it. You see a sunset, don't just let it go. Stop, feel it, bask in it, whatever it is. So, so notice the good, savor it for 20 seconds. And a simple thing, when you get the negative thought, just don't let it take you over and counter it, because we are way more apt to notice the negative, because way back in caveman days, we had to be aware if there was a tiger lurking versus if someone gave us a compliment. And I'm sure we can all say that. What are we going to focus on? 20 compliments or 1 negative thing someone said?
Right. Exactly. Right.
So when you get the negative thing,
on the negative,
I know. When you get the negative, then okay, you got that. But then counter it with 3 true but positive things that are also happening. So those are 3 tweaks. I promise you, start putting them in. That's going to create more positivity, which is going to have a ripple effect. And I guarantee when you have more positivity, you're going to start feeling more joy and more happiness.
And this is your 3-day, is this a 3-day happiness challenge that?
No, actually, what this is, I did a 3-day happiness challenge last year. And what I have, I have I mean, what I teach is it's a 8 module class, and each module you go into a different aspect, in detail, into the mind, into the heart, into the pillar of the soul, learning techniques and strategies that we can do. And then once a month we meet live in the group, and there's because I found afterwards with people, it's sometimes hard to keep remembering to be in that good zone. So when we meet once a month, it just gives you reminders, and you have the supportive community to work with. So it's an 8. So that's the class I teach. But I also have a journal for people to start. It's a happiness habits journal, and it goes through 7 days of habits. So it exposes you to a couple different habits, and you try them and see what you like. So that's just something free for everybody to have. And so
thank you. So everybody, here's the link. You can go to the page and either sign up for the 8-week course or find the 7-day journal somewhere in that page. And can you talk a little bit about what science there is about health and happiness? And I just was talking to a potential new client this morning, and it made me so sad because she's all alone in South Carolina, and she's ill. She got long COVID after not getting vaccinated, and she already had other health problems. And like so much misery. And I was like, and she didn't feel able to sign up to work with me. So I felt so bad. It's like, what can you do? And how, like, if I could have offered her something. So I did, I offered her to come to my Facebook group, but I would love to learn the health effects so that maybe people can focus more on their happiness and understand how important that is, no matter what their life situation.
Well, it's interesting that you said that, because that she's all alone, because there was really big study. It was called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. And the person, Dr. Robert Waldinger, what he concluded at the end of this, and they worked with men for so many years, and they found the biggest thing was your social interactions and your community. So that's such a piece for everybody. Whatever it is, just find some community that you resonate with. If it's online, but just to be around people, because there's just nothing worse than the isolation, the loneliness. And they found with health, that was the number one predictor, was that people's social environment. But in terms of health, this is interesting. So people that were happier live on an average 9 years longer. They are 35% less likely to get sick. So they have really enhanced immune systems. They have 47%, people who are unhappy have a 47% increase in sleep disorders. So there's all sorts of, and then they found things such as, people who haven't forgiven have more heart issues. So there's really a lot of comparison with people that do happiness, type of habits, and people with health. So 9 years longer, that's huge. And
that's huge. Yeah.
Improving your immune system. But with that person, sometimes they just have to start really, really, really basic, like they just have to start, sometimes what I have people do, I'll just have them put their hand on their heart, because that increases your oxytocin, the love hormone. And this is actually a technique from the Heart Math Institute that's been proven to actually reduce stress. And basically you just put your hands on your heart, and then you close your eyes, and you'll just breathe in. And you want me to do it real quick?
I'm going to do it while you tell me about it, just for fun.
Okay, we'll just do it for a minute. All right. So put your hands on your heart, close your eyes, and just visualize the breath. It can be a deep breath, but just visualize it coming in and out of your heart as you breathe. So you're focusing on your heart. And now think about somebody you love, a person, a four-legged you love, a place, a situation, something that brings you love and ease and compassion, whatever it is. And if you can't, just think of the words love, ease, compassion, but think of anybody, anything, any place. and just be with them and visualize it as clearly as you can and just breathe into that. And you can, we're just doing it for a minute, but something as easy as that just takes you out of maybe a little bit of the negativity and the stress. You know, when we're in that stress mode, we really love and stress are the opposites. So anything to just get us relaxed and get us out of. So maybe even doing that to open your heart throughout the day. So real small steps, deep breathing, anything, focusing on the good. You know, there's so many, but starting really small. What can you do? You know, and if you ask yourself where you're at on a scale of 0 to 10 and you're a 1, well, why are you a 1 and not a 0? You know, what did you do to get to be a 1? And do more of that. So you just start wherever you're at and start gradually adding things, and things really do improve. You know, again, sometimes there's medical issues, or sometimes, as you know, people need, you know, whether there's a hormone imbalance. So it's not that it takes the place of medical treatment and figuring out what's going on. But for most people, I think that's, your health is very important. That's a piece of this as well. And so we don't want to, you know, discount that at all. But certain things, regardless of where you're at, can start getting you out of that real sad situation.
Thank you. You know, it's funny. It's not funny, actually. It's sad how many people struggle with their health, and then there's their life circumstance that is so, you know, possibly difficult, that makes it worse. But another thing that I've found, and maybe you have too, is actually some of the foods that we eat can make us more prone to being unhappy, you know, like and you might have food cravings or something, but one of the things I've noticed, excuse me, and I find myself testing this every once in a while, so I'm not perfect by any means, but gluten, if you're sensitive to gluten, you can find yourself being more depressed the next day after you've eaten it. And you may not notice because you're busy and you're doing all kinds of things. Or sugar, because sugar makes you so happy in the short term. If you're a sugar person like me, I love sugar. But if I indulge in that, then I find myself feeling pretty low energy, pretty depressed the next day. And if you don't cut it out at some point, you may never notice that. You may not notice that those foods affect your mood.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm an ex-sugar addict. I have a serious problem with sugar. You know, I really do. And so I used to, you know, I didn't tell anyone. My husband likes to bake, so there always was chocolate chips in the house. So I would eat the whole bag, and then I would like buy a new one. Nobody knew. I felt horrible. I wanted to take a nap. I had no energy, fatigue, certainly not in a good mood. And, you know, eventually I mean, it's been now, probably 12 years. I'm totally off sugar, but sometimes I'm not perfect either. Sometimes it's a holiday and you'll have some, and the next day I have to be so careful because it's so easy to get back on that bandwagon. And that really affects your happiness and your mood. And the gluten, I couldn't agree more. I've seen so many people truly complete personality switches who are sensitive to gluten. I mean, it's unbelievable. So yeah, that's such a good point.
That is such a good point with children too, like little kids who, if they even get a little bit of gluten, they can be like totally wild. Or sugar, like, even though years ago I read a study that said that sugar did not change children's behavior. Every single person that I've ever spoken to plays with children knows that when they eat a lot of sugar, they go crazy. So
just like Halloween, right?
Yeah.
All teachers will tell you the day after Halloween, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know this very sweet 8-year-old boy who last Halloween got a whole bunch of candy and then threw up afterward. And he says, I'm allergic to sugar, and he won't eat sugar.
Wow.
Like, voluntarily on his own, because he like figured out that connection. So that was very lucky him, I think.
Yeah. The funny thing is that, you know, I love the fact that your taste buds change. So like, I don't even want that sweet I don't crave it because it's too sweet for me. My taste buds are so happy with some raspberries, a strawberry. It's just amazing how your body adapts to this and just doesn't want that when you haven't
Yeah.
had it for a while.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Do you have any final suggestions or any other information that you'd like to share before we sign off?
No, I just think know that it's possible. You have one life to live, and you want it to be as full and colorful and vibrant as it can, and it can be. And even if you're going through a really hard situation, and so many of us are, these are times of growth. The biggest challenges are your biggest growth opportunities. So sometimes, no matter how horrible things are, there are silver linings and there are good things. And sometimes to change the focus and just start small, and don't overwhelm yourself. Do one thing, like certainly, one thing at a time, and move on to the next. And just, don't worry about getting the whole picture. Just do what you feel good about. And things can really, really change. And just put your own happiness as being important. So many people think it's selfish. It's just the opposite, because then it's contagious. So everyone you're around becomes happier, and and so it's probably the least selfish thing you can do. So just make yourself a priority and start slow. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for sharing all that wonderful information. I am just delighted to have gotten to speak to you again.
Oh, well, thank you.